Hello, everybody. Happy 2025. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Shyvee. I'm the host for today's show. I also lead a very special community effort at Microsoft to help build better community products and democratize AI learning across, different professional communities. So please drop in the chat where you're joining us from. And if you'd like to learn more about our programs, you can visit the link below to learn more and stay, up to date with recaps of today's key takeaways as well as future programmings and join our AI enthusiast community. Again, feel free to drop in the chat where you're joining us from. Today is a very exciting topic, learning how to save 10 hours per week for a product manager and how to differentiate yourself from the top 1% PMs, how they use AI versus the rest of PMs. Yeah, our goal here really is to help you navigate the world of AI, whether you are product managers, but also other product adjacent roles like designers, marketers. We are diving deeper into industry with industry leaders and sharing actionable insights to make AI more accessible and impactful in your work. Again, a quick reminder, if you want to stay up to date and take a recap of today's newsletter, make sure you today's event, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's guest. He's a very special mentor slash friend slash product leader, Mustafa. Mustafa is a CPO turned consultant and entrepreneur, has helped over 1,500 PMs to use AI for product management with over 20 years of experience in product and innovation. He was recently the global head of product at Google. Prior to that, he led product innovation at IBM and Deloitte. He's currently the managing director at Echo Point, where he helps CPOs use AI to build efficient and effective product teams. Again, like I mentioned, he has coached hundreds of product managers on how to leverage AI to 10x their speed, save 80% of their time, 10 plus hours per week, and to deliver high quality results and maximizing the impact. I personally benefited from talking to Mustafa and learn about, some of these non-obvious blind spots in career development, how to manage them, how to use AI, how to think about career. I think you are really not just a pioneer and expert and thought leader in this space, but you're also a very compassionate mentor who can help all of us to level up our game. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Sri. And by the way, you should do all my intros because I think you do a much better job of introducing me than myself. So thank you for those kind words. I appreciate it. And I'm happy to be here. So I'm glad we have lots of people here. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, we have a lot of folks joining from all over the world. We have Ronnie from NYC, Ricardo joining from Lisbon, Brooklyn, Danny, Pema joining from Seattle. I know Joey joining from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So really excited to have all of you here. All right. Without further ado, show us the magic. Why don't we start my stuff from thinking about, one thing I really like about the positioning of our talk is how the top 1% of PMs uses AI versus the rest of us.
Yeah.
So what would be, can you share like maybe of the people that you coach, what's like a quick real world success story of PM using AI to transform their
workflow? I think that's a great question. So let me share, actually, let me show you with 3 examples, if that's okay. And each one will tell a little bit. So, one of them is Marcy. She is a director of product. She works for a healthcare SaaS company. She saves easily anywhere between 400 to 500 hours a year just on the way she writes features and user stories, right? And now, not only does she love the way she's doing it, she's actually taking that same way that she's doing it, the same way she uses AI, and she's teaching the rest of her team. So the impact is not just to her, but to the larger organization as well, right? And then another one, I'll give you another one. Sharon works for a large retailer, and I just got this text from her, so it's top of mind. She sent me a text, and she's like, Mustafa, I did a whole go to market in one day. What it would have taken me 2 weeks to do, I can now do it in one day. And not just do the go to market in one day, because listen, anybody can talk to AI and get a response. The key is to get a response that is actually of high quality and relevant. And that's what she was talking about. She's like, listen, not only did I get it in one day, but I got it in such a way, the response was such good quality that I had to do very minimum tweaking, like 20% of the work, and I was able to impress my stakeholders, right? Which is what the top 1% really focuses on. It's not just about speed and time saved, but it's also about delivering high quality work that will impress your stakeholders or get you ahead in the game. And I said three, right? So let me give you a third one. Actually, this one is another student of mine. His name is Usman. He is also a director of product. He has gone deep into Notebook LM. And with Notebook LM, he's actually saving 15 hours a week. And if you guys want to listen to Usman's story, I'm actually going to have a Maven Lightning lesson with him in about 2 weeks. So you know what, Shri, I'll drop the link if people want to sign up for that one. But he's going to go deep into how he uses Notebook LM to do a whole bunch of things like market research, competitive analysis. And again, comes back to two things we talked about: productivity and actually having maximizing impact, right? So, and this is just tip of the iceberg. If you actually go to my newsletter and type in 8400 or do a search for 8400, you'll see a whole bunch of stories. Now, why 8400? Because of the 10 people I interviewed, collectively, they have saved 8,400 hours in 1 year by using AI, right? And so there's lots of stories on my newsletter that you can go to as well.
That's really awesome. We'll link, share links to the newsletter in a bit, especially from our newsletter. So if you wanted to subscribe to ours, we'll share Mustafa's course, the
Yeah,
lightning lesson, as well as a bonus to, the top 5 prompts for PM, as well
yeah,
as additional case studies. So make sure you subscribe to our newsletter for those future updates. All right, Mustafa, we talk about working with AI is more than
yes,
it's always important to experiment with it, sometimes get pretty surprised by it in good and bad ways. So
yes,
can you walk us through, maybe let's say 3 high impact AI use cases
yes.
and how you use AI and show.
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. In fact, Sri, if it's okay, let me kind of take it a bit further, right? So I would like to show you. So the numbers I talked about earlier, right? They are impressive, right? There's people who are enjoying those numbers right now, but there's a caveat. The caveat to that one is that you have to know how to use AI and get the most value out of it, right? That's how the top 1% uses AI. So what I want to do is I want to show with you two ways. I'll show you how most people use AI or how most PMs use AI, what I call the unstructured approach, and then I'm going to show you the structured approach. And you're going to see the difference between the top 1% and the rest of the PMs. And then you'll know why the numbers like 8,400, like 400 from Marcy, or 2 weeks from Sharon are possible simply because the way they use AI is fundamentally different than how most people use AI, right? Does that sound like a good? I know we talked about doing one simple demo, but I figured a contrast is much better. Does that
Yeah,
work for you, Sri?
absolutely.
Perfect. So let me see. I'm new to this platform, so let me see if I can present. And what I'm gonna do, hold on, let me just make sure I have the screen going. And share. Perfect. Sorry, I am. There you go. You guys can see this, yeah? So
Yep.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a very simple task. And by the way, I talk and walk, which is probably a good thing and a bad thing. So I apologize. I'm too cheap to pay for the gym, so this is my gym. No, just kidding. um, I'm gonna show you how most people use AI and how the top 1% use AI. And the task I want to focus on is very simple. It's something that we do all the time, and that is doing a synthesis or analyze customer feedback. So the task I want to think about is, you have a bunch of app reviews, you want to analyze it, you want to do a sentiment analysis on it. And so I'm going to show you both ways of doing it. So let's talk about what we're going to do. Assume, for example, that you work at Figma. right? And you have been asked by a director, by a manager, by a CPO, whoever it may be, to go through the Figma app reviews and figure out what people are saying, what they like, what they don't like, what are the features they're requesting. And so what I've done for today is I just went down to the App Store and I actually just downloaded the reviews, right? Now, for interest of time, I think there's only 100 lines in here, but it doesn't matter. The technique I show you here, you can use it for app reviews. You can actually show it for customer interviews. You can do it on ticket data, any kind of customer feedback data. This works. But as you can see, all I've done is I've just gone in and I have downloaded the customer reviews, right? It talks about what is the content, who's done it, what is the rating. I have not even bothered cleaning the data. And you guys know, if you guys have done this in the past, I know my PMs used to spend hours cleaning data just before they can actually do something with the data. And you know what? I don't see I don't see the, sorry. Let's try that one more time. Yeah. Um, so here's what I've done is I've downloaded the app reviews, and here you can see that it has the content, it has the name, it has the rating. I have not bothered to even clean the data. Like I was saying before, is cleaning the data takes the most amount of time sometimes to do the analysis. And so the good thing about LLM is that you don't actually have to worry about it. So I'm just going to take this data and I'm going to show you how most people do sentiment analysis. So I'm going to go to Claude this time. And all I'm going to say is, can you please do a sentiment analysis on this data? You know what? Give me a minute. I'm not sure why I have to keep sharing tabs. Let me see if I can share my whole screen. I think that might be easier because I'm going to jump around with different tabs. So I apologize. Okay. Hopefully this way, when I jump from one screen to another, I don't have to keep doing it. So can you please do a sentiment analysis on this data? And all I'm going to do is I'm going to add the Figma file. And here's, Claude is going to do its own thing, and we'll take a look at the data itself. But like I said, it's just raw data. And it will go through all the rows. I think there's about 100 rows in this one. And I want to keep it 100 because I want to make it quick. And so here you go. It does a decent job, right? It gives you a rating across, where where the ratings are. It gives a distribution. It tells you it has a negative sentiment. And frankly, it's okay, right? But the problem with this type of analysis is that it's not actionable. Like, what do you do with this? Like, how do you take this and turn that into the new feature that you want to build, right? Now, you can always spar with the AI and you can say, tell me more about the one-star reviews and tell me more about this. So you always are going to keep on doing it again and again and again. But frankly speaking, this, in my opinion, is a lot more work, right? So now let me tell you how the 1% does it. And so I am now going to show you three strategies, right? Number one is I'm going to show you how they use something called a playbook. And by the way, you'll have access to this playbook by the end of the session. Second is I'm going to show you how they actually write prompts or how they ask questions and what I call a well-structured prompt. And third is I'm going to show you how they actually use their personal copilot to actually even get deeper insights. So let's go here and let me go to. So here's a playbook. So what they're going to do is, and most 1% PMs have a playbook or a library of prompts that they go to. And I'm going to walk through this quickly, and then we can actually deep dive in each one of the steps, right? So I'm going to go through, and I'm going to find, let's see what I'm going to find. I'm going to see synthesize user feedback. And all I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to copy this entire prompt. I'm going to go back to my tab. I'm going to start a new chat. I'm going to copy this here. I'm going to add the Figma file again. And I'm actually going to add my Copilot to this one. And now let's take a look at what these results are. And you'll notice that just by asking the question differently, you'll see the vast difference in how good the quality results are. And so here, instead of asking a simple question, you can just see that it gives you positive feedback. It tells you, it summarizes what it is and how many times it's mentioned. It gives you negative feedback. It gives you features requested. It tells you all the competitors mentioned. It gives you a summary, and it gives you quotes. Now, just because I changed the way I ask questions, the data I get back is a lot more actionable. It's a lot more relevant to what I can do with it, right? And so you'll notice that just the way you use AI, if you just change your technique and your strategies, you can get AI to do a lot more for you in the same amount of time of asking either a simple question as versus a well-structured question, right? But let's take this further, because this is not where the 1% stop, right? So let's just assume that I want to, let's see, let's pick one. I want to fix this, performance issues with large files, right? So I can go in and say, can you please tell me more about. And the good news is that that's actually going to go through and actually going to give me more data. So now it becomes even more actionable, right? And then I say, okay, I want to go further. See, it's already starting to go into my personal Copilot. It's telling me how this is working with the OKRs and who I need to talk to. So I want to go further. If I work on this issue, does it align with my team's OKRs? And so now the AI is actually going to scan the OKRs that we've trained it on, and it's going to tell us if it aligns with the OKRs or not. So again, you're taking that same data and you're going much further to do deeper analysis. And all of this, what it really comes down to is two things. Number one, it saves you more time and makes you a much more effective PM, because you are now you're getting AI to do the heavy lifting. And so here you go. It tells you that, yes, addressing performance issues works with these two OKRs. Now, if you want to take it even further and say, you know what, I would like to share this with Clara. Now, Clara is my boss. How would I communicate? And the AI is actually now going to look at Clara. I've actually trained the AI on certain personality traits of Clara. And so here's how it's going to tell me what's a good way for me to communicate with Clara, right? And so it could be as simple as an email. Now, if I wanted to say I want it to be a meeting, so it will create a meeting agenda for me. If I want to say is like, you know what, before I talk to Clara, who else should I talk to? So before I talk to Clara, who else should I talk to? And I've trained it on my organization and who reports to whom. And so it's going to tell me who I should talk to. And it tells me that the three people I need to talk to is DeMarcus, who's a backend engineer, Taylor, who is customer success, and Ravi, who is responsible for integration. And here you can see in just this simple example, and I think we've been doing it for the last, I don't know, Shyvee, about 10 minutes. You can see how you can use AI to get so much more. Like so much more than just having a simple approach of asking a simple question. And this is how the top 1% actually saves a whole lot of time and is more effective and more impactful as a PM, right? Um, Let me pause here and see if you have any questions, or I'm happy to kind of break down how we actually do this.
Yeah, so I wanted to echo what one of the LinkedIn member, Andy, was saying that so basically what you're doing is you created a project. Both GPT and Claude now have this capability, onboarding it with like additional information like team structure, organizational dynamics, project background and context. You provided a prompt template that was much more than just one sentence, like summarize this out for
Yep.
you. So then it gives it a lot more contextual understanding and making the feedback much more actionable.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. I mean, there are techniques that we're using here. And I only talked about the three. In fact, there's a lot more going on. And if you have time, I'm happy to go into it. But the three things we talked that we used is number one is using a playbook. So again, I'm not writing a prompt from scratch, right? I'm using a library of prompt that has been battle tested that I know is going to work, that I have battle tested before. So again, I'm not starting from scratch. Then I'm just taking that piece and I'm just inputting the different data. So I could have used that same prompt, by the way, and I could have changed the data around and it will still give me great results, right? Just just the two things that we talked about, Shri, about using a simple prompt in which it just gave us a distribution versus using a well-structured prompt in which it gave us positive, negative reviews plus features to be done. That itself saves PMs a ton of time because what happens with that one is that you're actually getting the AI to do the heavy lifting, right? As opposed to you doing the heavy lifting. In the first one, I call it the 20/80, in which the AI does 20% of the work, but you still have to do the 80% of the work. When
Hmm.
you start using these strategies and more, and there's actually 10, um, you flip the script and it's 80/20. AI does 80% of the work. You still have to do 20% of the work. And by the way, that 20% of the work is the most critical work. That is where your PM experience comes in. That's when you actually make the difference. Like we didn't tell AI, say, tell me what feature to build, right? Because that's actually the AI doesn't know enough. And I would never trust an AI to tell me that. But I have done AI to do the analysis for me so that then I can take a look at it and figure out which one I want to focus on. And then based on that, I can have AI actually guide me through the rest of the process, right? Now, I can even put down in here because I've actually trained this AI in my entire playbook to actually brainstorm features, write user stories, you name it. But coming back to your earlier to the comment by one of our audiences, you're absolutely right. We've used certain features that is available now in OpenAI and Claude that allow us to do this, right? The key is to figure out how you can use it to maximize the fact is the AI is doing most of the work versus we are, right? But we still keep that human, um, the part that makes us PMs, the critical thinking, the decision making is still on our side, right?
Yeah, I love that. I think this is really resonating with the LinkedIn community. Folks are saying these are very valuable, incredible insights, really, really helpful.
Perfect.
There,
I'm glad I could help.
there was one question around is there a way to turn this text into a more visual way, like a presentation style?
There is, and so I think Claude is doing a lot better on visualization. So you know what? We can actually let's see. We can do an experiment. So let's go back to
We can try to maybe use artifacts to generate.
yes. So most of the time, which is weird because this is the other thing is with AI, it is temperamental. Most of the time when I run this, it actually will do the visualization for me. Um, and by the way, there's a little tab in here in which you can actually turn on visualization. I think it's over here somewhere. Settings. If you go, oh, maybe not there. Maybe they changed it. Um, Feature preview, I think. Yes. So if you turn on this tab, by the way, in Claude, it will do the visualization for you. So as you can see, it's turned on, but sometimes you need to coax AI a little bit. So It's a lot like sometimes my kids, you got to tell them at least twice. Um, but let's go back to our prompt. Let's go back to where we were. Where were we in
I
project?
also think that some folks are asking how to get the playbook. So for those of you who are joining us live, you can scan this QR code to get access to the playbook.
Yes.
And we're going to share a recap after this session if you subscribe to
Yeah.
our Substack newsletter below.
Yeah. Yes, I am coming back to your playbook piece. So the playbook that I shared with you, and in fact, you know what? Let's do this. Let's talk about the playbook, and then let's go back to the visualization, because visualization takes some time. So let me start the prompt, and then let's go to the playbook. Can you visualize the sentiment? All right, so let this run in the background. In the meantime, let's go to the playbook, right? So here's the playbook. Let's see, share this tab. In fact, let's do two things, right? Um, I'm going to first tell you what does it mean to do a well-structured prompt, because the way you ask questions directly impacts the quality of your response. Like I said earlier, anybody can ask AI a question, and AI is going to give you an answer. The question becomes is how valuable is that answer to you? How relevant is it, and how actionable is it? And if you want to have relevant, non-generic, valuable responses, you have to ask AI in a certain way. Just like how we have, like how we communicate with people, we know that certain people communicate are more receptive in this type of communication versus that type of communication. The same thing goes with AI as well. And so what I have told, or what I do, is I actually, let's do something as simple as brainstorming new product and features. What I teach my students is what I call the 5 keys to unlock the most value out of AI, right? And the 5 keys are very simple, right? First is you got to assign AI a role. You got to give it a job. You got to give it an experience. And so here you can see is you can say it's great at building great products, and it's great and it's an expert in ideating product features. Then you got to have to figure out what the input is, right? What input are you going to give AI so it has something to chew on? Now, the input is by far the hardest thing and where students struggle the most. Because if you give too much input, it can actually it can lead the AI to give you certain answers. If you give too little input, there's not enough for the AI to figure out what to do with it. So understanding the right level of input is very important, which is why in my playbook, by the way, I've been building this playbook for the last 2.5 years. I've battle tested each of these prompts to know exactly what I want to get out of it. And for each time I say, like, I have to be able to give this to my team so that they can get the most value out of it right away in the first shot. So the second one is the input. The third is instructions, right? Instructions is basically what you tell them what to do with the input. This is also where you put in best practices. So in here, I've kept it simple, but you can go as crazy as possible. So number one is 20 functional ideas. Ideas must be innovative. If you don't want innovative, you can keep it functional. You can keep it practical. You can keep it risk averse, whatever you want. Uh, Concise language, user-centric at all times. Then I tell them the format that I want to receive it in. And for me, format is very important. And the reason for that is because if it gives me in a certain format, it's easy for me to scan that text and then go to the next step. And so I tell AI how I want to receive the information because I know how I like to scan it, and then I can use it. And then, of course, I give it a good example. And by the way, if you use the 5 keys, and every prompt in here uses the 5 keys, I promise you, you will get a better response than if you just use a simple question. So each and every one of these all use the 5 keys, right? Each and every one of them have to use the 5 keys. Like you can build personas. This, I think we use the synthesize. And if you actually use the 5 keys, just like we said, you can actually get some very sophisticated responses back, just like what we did with the synthesized users. Now, one of the pushbacks I get from here, Shyvee, is like, Mustafa, this is great, but who the heck is going to write a prompt That's 1 page long. I can't do that every time. And you're absolutely right. I wouldn't do that every time, which is why the playbook comes in. Your playbook is your recipe book in which you write the prompt once and you keep reusing it again and again, which is why in this playbook you'll see that there's red and the black. The black is static. I can go in and change the input anytime I want and rerun this prompt, and it will give me great results. The only thing I need to change is the red. And so I've written the playbook, or we've written the playbook in such a way that you write it once and you keep reusing it again and again and again. So you never have to write a 1 page prompt again, ever. All you have to do is play around with the input. And so let's go back to our brainstorming new product as well. Again, the black is static. I just have to change the red to get me the responses that I want. So this playbook is what you actually. So I think this one is. Let me see which this one is. I have so many playbooks for different clients. Which one is this one? So this one is what we actually use in the Maven course that I have, and I will talk about that later. I believe that Shyvee said that, listen, Mustafa, we have to give our audience something. So what I've done is for you guys, I've created the top 5 most popular prompts, which is here. And that is a, I always see people in my playbook, which is great. Here's the top 5 prompts. So you'll get this at the end of our session. And Sri, there's a way that we're gonna reach out to them with email, correct? So they can get this.
Yeah, yeah. I
Right.
think 77 people have already accessed the playbook or
Yeah.
accessing it now.
So you're gonna get this, and this is a great way to start. It actually has I call it growth signals of sentiment analysis. So you can get that, the one that we just used, but you can also try the other ones, right? You can try the brainstorming new products. You can do market research, generate user stories, generate value proposition. Let me pause here. That's a lot of information. Sorry, I love this topic so much. I can talk about this till the cows come home. Sometimes I don't even need an audience, which my wife will always remind me because I need to stop talking about this. So let me see if there's any questions.
I do think that people benefited from reading leveraging the playbook. There are some questions around prompt length, like how much information do you give it? Is it too much? Because I sometimes face that problem. Is like if I give it too much context, it start omitting things or start
Yes.
forgetting what you talk about.
Yes.
And then, so how to find that right balance without spending endless hours like trying to trial and error. Any
Yes. So there's definitely issues with prompt length. If you actually write a prompt that is 1 page long, I don't think so that's going to be an issue. What happens is when you actually have multiple pages of information, which is why it's actually really important how much you put in both in your prompt or what you put in your input, and as much as what we haven't talked about is how much information you give your copilot, right? And so with large language models, you have this thing in which the models tend to forget the stuff in the middle. So if you have a document that's 100 pages, most likely it's going to remember the first few pages and it's going to remember the last few pages, but the stuff in the middle gets forgotten. So this really bothers me because when I see some of those so-called gurus on LinkedIn or other places, and they say, "Well, just stuff as much information as you can in in the context model," because you can, right? I think you can now do up to 200,000 tokens, which is actually quite a lot in Claude. It really bothers me because that is not how you get the most out of AI. Remember, we keep coming back to this idea, but the reason we do all of these things is because we want to do 2 things. A, we want to boost our productivity, and second is we want to maximize our impact, or we want to be more effective PM. And so understanding the right length is just as important. So for me, I find A one-page prompt is good enough. Most of my prompts are about 1 page or less. And number two is how much information you train on your PM Copilot is just as important. So don't put too much, don't put too little. Sometimes it's a matter of trial and error, which is why I talked earlier, is that a lot of this is battle testing, right? You gotta experiment with it, and then once you're happy with it, then you can move forward. I wish I could tell you. I wish there was an answer saying that no more than 2 pages. Unfortunately, that does not exist. So it has to be task specific. It also has to be model specific, by the way. Um,
Mm.
I hope that helps.
Yeah, earlier we did have questions around like model specific behavior between ChatGPT and Claude.
Yeah.
And folks are only allowed to use Copilot, Microsoft Copilot at work for security reason. Any top of mind tips around, what are some model specific
Yeah.
best practices?
Yeah. You know what? We didn't talk about this, but a lot of your success as a PM in using AI is not just on how you write the prompt or what you put in your Copilot or your playbook. It's where you run your prompt is just as important, because even though large language models look the same, their knowledge map is fundamentally different because they've been trained differently. And so each one is going to give you a different type of results. There was a reason why for this demo I chose Claude and not ChatGPT. And that's because when it comes to analysis, Claude is a lot better at it, and it gives me better results. So even in my playbook, I actually tell people which models to use. Let's see, where were we? Yeah, so I tell you, it gives you, I tell you which model to use, because using which platform to use is just as important. Now, with O1, O1 is much better at analysis than Claude is. The problem with O1 is that you cannot upload files yet. And so for me to upload the Sigma file, I would actually have to copy paste it, which sometimes you lose the fidelity because then it doesn't know where the rows end, um, and so on. But knowing which model to use for what is just as important. Like for market research, I don't actually use Claude or OpenAI. I actually use Perplexity because I know Perplexity does much better. So as you start building your AI muscle, right? And I talk about that there's 10 skills, and maybe I'll just show the 10 skills. Um, Understanding how to use which model for what task is just as important as knowing how you ask the questions and what input you give. I hope that answers the question. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I think I earlier I wasn't as aware of some of these platform differences, but more and more so lately. So this was really, really
Yeah.
good.
And it's
Uh,
one of those things, Sri, that most people don't think about because they think that all models are the same. In reality, if you ask a simple question, it really does not matter, right? Um, but if you want to get the most out of it, like I said, if you want to get the most value out of AI, if you want AI to do the heavy lifting, if you want it to do the 80% while you do the 20%, the models make a difference. Um, Now, the good news is that for certain prompts, the difference actually works in your favor. So if I'm doing brainstorming of ideas or brainstorming of user stories, I will actually use the same prompt in different models and I will get different results. And that's one of the benefits of the way the playbook has been structured, is that it is platform agnostic. So when I don't have a so here's Perplexity that I talk about market research, but if I use the brainstorming prompt, it doesn't tell me what platform to use. So I can use the same prompt across different platforms, and I have, and you're actually going to get a different set of results, which actually helps when you're doing brainstorming, right? In brainstorming, you want as diverse of a results as possible so you can pick them. So a lot of people don't pay attention to this, but it really makes a difference if you're trying to squeeze. If you're going to get to the 8,400 hours, you gotta squeeze every value out of these models as possible.
right. Is Claude basically kind of your favorite models, or you have tested like different models?
I actually, to be honest with you, I do most of my work on ChatGPT or OpenAI. I find OpenAI to be much more. I will start most of my prompts in OpenAI because I find it that it takes instructions much better than Claude does. But when it comes to analysis, I've noticed that at least with OpenAI, not the latest, it does not give me great results. And so for me, let me put it this way: I care more about the quality of responses, and I'm not wedded to a model. If a model will give me, if another model will give me better results tomorrow, I will switch because I'm going to keep coming back to this again and again and again. It's not about using AI, it's about what AI can do for you. And for me, AI is really about the two things we talked about. Number one, boosting productivity and making you more effective, right? The rest is just tools and the rest is just strategies. And these strategies, by the way, will change over time. But you got to I keep bringing my students back to why they're using these tools, right? And it keeps coming back to those two key benefits. And everything in my course, everything that I teach is all around how can you get more productive and how can you become a better PM moving forward. I hope that helps.
Absolutely. I know that we're almost coming up on time.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Time flies. Yes.
time flies. But we did have over 100 people that, scan the QR code to just grab the play.
Perfect.
So hopefully
Yes,
folks.
I can see them all add up. So this is great. Please take it, use it. Hey, do me a favor, connect with me on LinkedIn or send me a message. I would love to hear your experience about using the playbook and what you thought. And do a comparison, by the way. Like, don't take my word for it. Do a comparison. Ask a simple prompt, like, please write these user stories for me, and then use my prompt or use what's in the playbook. Um, I don't like to call it my prompt because ultimately it belongs to the community. Um, so use what's in the playbook and then compare the results. And if you see that you have better results, then you know that this is going to actually help you move forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Coming back to, I guess, like maybe as we wrap up the session, what are some like key takeaways, like in terms of crafting effective prompts or using AI for daily PM tasks? Any parting advice?
Yeah. Let me see. I mean, I'll give you three, right? Number one is you just have to start using AI, right? A lot of the times I get students, and especially students, because I do a lot of work with CPOs helping their teams use AI and adopt AI to be more productive. A lot of times people have used AI and they are either they've been burned, they've not met their expectation. And so my focus with people is just start using it because eventually you'll get better at it. Just like with any new technology, there's a learning curve out there. And so if you can actually just start using it, that's number one. And I challenge all my students to say, start every task with AI first, right? That itself is going to put you in a different category than other PMs because you're going to figure out how once you start every task with AI, it's going to just put you in a separate league, right? Number two is that I like to think of AI like I use the intern analogy. Like think of AI as your intern. And just like how you would actually work with an intern, you have to figure out how to work with AI, which is why some of the strategies and techniques I talked about, right? About which platform to use or which model to use, how to do well-structured prompts, um, how much information to put in, right? Why use a playbook? And those are just three. We talk about something called microtasks. These are all strategies, like how do you troubleshoot when you get into rabbit holes with AI, because that happens all the time. These are all strategies that you can learn. And so the second thing is learn how to actually work with AI so you can get the most out of it. And the third one is don't lose the reason why you're using AI, right? A lot of times I see students come in and they want to talk about the fancy and the flashy stuff, which is great, by the way. And everybody needs to play around and we need to experiment. But why the heck are we using AI? Right? Don't lose sight of the ultimate outcome. And the ultimate outcome, in my opinion, is really comes down to speed and quality, right? Speed is going to save you time, and quality is what's going to help you impress your stakeholders, become a better PM, and be more effective. And by the way, that's actually what's going to get you ahead, or at least get you circle around the peers. So don't keep those three things in mind. Like start everything with AI first. Learn how to use AI effectively. And third is don't ever lose sight of why you're using AI. Because when you lose sight of why you're using AI, then you become very distracted, right? And then becomes overwhelming. So
Absolutely. I'm gonna share the playbook link again since
perfect.
we're asking. And again, for if you are subscribed to our Substack newsletter with the link below, you will be able to access a lot of the resources referenced here, including the playbook, access to Mustafa's newsletter, as well as course with $100 off discount to learn more from him.
Yes.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
yes. Thank you, Shyvee, for mentioning that. Yes, I do have a course coming up in actually just under 2 weeks or just over 2 weeks. Sorry, February 11th. So if you find this interesting and you want to learn how the top 1% use AI to save time, to be more effective, to actually accelerate their careers, please take a look into it. I would love to have you in class.
awesome. Thank you so much. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
no worries.
this. Very insightful. Hopefully, folks take away some concrete stuff. Use the weekend to try out the playbook, see what you learn, share your feedback, and test it with different LLMs to see which one works better or the other. I'd love to hear
Yes.
your insights. Feel free to drop them on LinkedIn or send us a message. Thank
Yes,
you so much.
please listen. I love connecting with PMs on LinkedIn. I will accept all requests. So please connect with me and tell me your experience with the playbook. I would love to learn what worked and what didn't work. Um, one of the things that we learn in class is having the right expectations, because sometimes people come in with too high expectations and then they get disappointed. Sometimes people use AI and have too low expectations, which I think is probably better. But having the right expectations also helps you get the most out of it, right? So a lot of it is just and as you get to use AI again and again, you're going to get better and better at it, right? You're just going to know that you've used AI to the full extent or what you haven't.
Great. Thank you so much.
I know we're almost out of time. I could go on forever.
I know. Me too. Love learning from you as always. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody. Again, hope to see you. Through our newsletter and our community. Share your insights and what you learn. What works, what don't, what doesn't. I definitely have experienced both, and most recently more optimistic about what AI can achieve, and then getting disappointed, but also the other round, getting decently surprised at
Yes.
what AI can achieve. So it's
Yeah.
all a learning journey. So thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you for having me, Sri. This is great. You and I have been talking about getting together for quite some time. I'm finally glad our calendars opened up because we're just so busy running around with chickens with our heads cut off, right? So thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week
Thank
ahead.
you.
All right.